your job as a sportsman is to assess what the job's going to require, assemble it, and then do it. And the biggest attribute in motorsport, and to get started and to carry on in motorsport, is to learn how to get up off the ground, because you're sure as hell get knocked over a lot of times.
Flag at the ready. The start of the 1982 James Hardie 1000 Classic, and Allan Grice on the inside. Selection that gets into the first corner quicker than Peter Brock. One up on the inside trying to crowd as all the cars make their way into the first left-hand corner.
Moffat has made a great start, but has gone wide. So are many cars trying to consolidate their positions, and it's a mad scramble on the first lap up Mountain Straight. Brock trying to get past Grice as they go up the mountain.
Here they come towards Mountain Straight, and we have a three-way dice going for the lead with Peter Brock, Allan Grice, and Bartlett moving up smartly in the 9 Camaro to keep in touch with them. Then we have Ron Wanless going through in car number 16. Grice stretching the legs of the ReCar Commodore, heading up to the cutting. Wait for the cheers across the top of the mountain as Sydney's Allan Grice leads Peter Brock, then Kevin Bartlett in the 9 V8 Camaro down across McPhillamy Park. And it's Gricey. Brock right behind him. Back then to Kevin Bartlett. Garry Rogers is next. Dick Johnson. They were then followed by John Harvey and Alan Moffat.
Crowd rise to their feet as they tumble down the other side of the mountain. Brock right on Grice's tail. They've dropped Bartlett off by about 10 car lengths. Garry Rogers in the second ReCar Commodore, then Dick Johnson. Alan Moffat sandwiched in there.
First time to Conrod Straight. Grice is the leader. Very close to him, though, is Peter Brock.
Brock is perfectly placed to slipstream and pull out and pass, which he may do. He's pulling out now. He's got a bit of a toe now. Just purely horsepower. Let's see how they go side by side. Lap 1 of the James Hardie 1000. Grice is still in front, but Brock is inching past him. The crowd down low in the circuit where they can see they're coming straight out, rising to their feet, and the cheers are beginning already. Braking's going to tell the difference.
There's $1,000 up for grabs too. Gregory's Auto Service manuals have $1,000 up for the driver.
Grice is going to hold him out.
And Grice is going to add to the total already of $15,000. He'll pick up $1,000 as he leads lap number 1 of the James Hardie. But Brock this time on the inside comes up the challenge, and we take race cam from the car as Brock goes through to take the lead away from Allan Grice and the ReCar Commodore.
And you were there when he did it. Peter Brock carrying the race cam, got by Allan Grice at the end of lap 1. There's the view out the back. Grice is making a charge up Mountain Straight. He's coming close. You can see. That's the passenger's view. Grice weaving around, picking up undertow. He's quick up the hill. Now he pulls on the inside. We'll follow him through. Oh, he can't quite hold him. Side by side they go the mountain. No, he says, I haven't got the legs. Tries again, has to brake. They're coming up towards Castrol Cliff. Through they go. They went through fearfully quickly now. Up towards the cutting. Brock's in front. Grice pulls out the pass. Comes up on the outside of him. Brock can see him. Grice is going through into the cutting. He's going hard and deep. A second gear corner this. A dab of brakes. Up with the brakes and hard. Who goes the wider? Brock in very close. Out wide to the fence. A little bit wider line. Up they come towards McPhillamy now. Up the mountain. And Brock is going on the inside. There's the crowd and Peter Brock getting a great cheer as he goes to the top of the mountain. Grice though still in front. It's a two-car war between these long-time rivals. They are using up all the track and a little bit more. And it's once again Allan Grice who will lead across the top of the mountain. And the crowd are roaring with excitement. Inside the car with Peter Brock. He's working hard. Now he comes to Skyline, a frightening part of the circuit. Down he goes. Watch for the gear change. Right up on the tail of Allan Grice. Oh, the pace is fearsome here. Standing lap off the start, full tanks of fuel, 125.94. Those speeds are coming down. The speeds are going up rather, the times are tumbling down as these two out in front go hammer and tong.
Tailgating is Peter Brock to Allan Grice. Grice leads down Conrod Straight, and now we'll see if Brock can pull aside. He's almost too far back to get the aerodynamic effect because there is a region of calmer air there. If he can just get into it, lower pressure. He's closing a bit though. He is definitely closing now. He's pulling out. He's got the slingshot effect. Side by side, but Grice is holding on. What a car he has. That ReCar car flies. Side by side at something like 175, 180 miles an hour. There's Allan Grice watching Brock go by, but will he try and outbrake him? Yes, he will. Going a little deeper, coming towards the bridge, into the braking area. Grice says, I'll do it, thank you. Goes in a little deeper. Oh, that takes some nerve. He takes good brakes too.
Now, this is where Brock passed on the last lap round. Can he do it again up pit straight? He pulls out. And once more pulls up alongside Allan Grice. No, he doesn't do it. Gricey holds him out coming up to Hell Corner.
I think he's quite satisfied. He's had a little grab there for the lead. Now he's stretching the car. He sits in again behind Grice. Whether or not he'll have a shot coming up Mountain Straight again. The order is Allan Grice and the ReCar Commodore leading from Peter Brock in 0.5. Kevin Bartlett back behind them.
4.5 seconds between second and third, between Brock and Bartlett. John Hardie has moved up into 4th place, just in front of Warren Wanless in car 16. Dick Johnson in 17, running in 6th place.
Through Castrol again. The run up the mountain. Allan Grice and the ReCar Commodore. All Grice, the 1982 Classic thus far, through qualifying and leading the first lap.
The Tasmanian driver, Wilkinson, has come up very well, right behind Johnson now. That's an amazing drive for him. He started well out of the top 10 and he's now running in 7th place. So good news for you people in Tasmania. Wilkinson up there in 7th and looking very good. Wilkinson's made up 6 positions on the track off the starting grid. Great performance, but these two out front, what a fearsome pace they're setting.
The Commodores of the fleet, Allan Grice and Peter Brock.
And that has eliminated 3 Commodores in one touch.
And it's going to be extremely difficult also to move those cars with safety. We have one against the wall that you can see there on the inside of the circuit and 2 parked against the concrete wall on the outside.
It's the cutting, I think. It's a little hard to pick from the vertical angle here. It looks like it is the BP cutting. Thank you very much, Dougie Hampson, and the helicopter showing us exactly where it was, just to confirm our remarks. Well, the pace still is being maintained with Allan Grice in front. And that sort of incident with 3 cars going in one touch could happen. The pace is so fierce, the competition is so great that we could lose a few cars here today. They've never travelled so quickly. There's never been greater prize money. There's never been greater prestige. And therefore there has never been the pressure that these drivers are undergoing to do well in Australia's greatest car race. John Hardie up into 3rd place. He's passed Kevin Bartlett in the Camaro.
We have 3 Commodores out front at the moment. There you'll see the race leader, Allan Grice, come past the cutting. But those cars are still embedded in the concrete wall. We're inside Peter Brock's car, the Commodore, as he goes across the mountain, working hard at the wheel. Allan Grice, of course, still leads the event. Brock placed well in 2nd.
Brock has a deficit of 2.45 seconds. Not much. He's got Grice well inside. He'd be reasonably contented. And the margin back to Kevin Bartlett, who's running in 3rd place, is 19 seconds. So Peter Brock is comfortably placed.
They're already run up on some of these slower cars, Evan, so early in the race, and threading their way back through the slower traffic.
Makes things very hazardous for the drivers of the faster cars, as well as tending to disrupt the flow of traffic. Grice gets by. Brock has a clear line, but the driver didn't see him coming. You saw there how he just moved over and really cut Brock off. He now has to do it the hard way. That gave Grice maybe another 1/10 of a second. Now Brock is after him. He won't be happy with that. The driver saw one car, wasn't looking for the second one. They're going so quickly down the straight now. That's how fast they're going. Peter Brock's car. You're doing about 280 kilometres an hour, coming into the braking zone now. You want to make sure the brakes work, wouldn't you? A left-hand bend.
Turn right, you go to Bathurst, go straight ahead, you're in the rough. There's Grice. Takes the inside line, pits straight again. He leads Peter Brock.
Just passing Denny Holm, the former world champion from New Zealand, driving the black and gold JPS BMW number 41.
21.1. Lap the last time through to Brock, he took the signal and acknowledged. There's Grice, the ReCar Commodore, heading up Mountain Straight.
In the traffic on that last lap, Brock has made up 2 seconds of that 2.48 second deficiency, so he's right on Allan Grice's tail once more. Up into 3rd place at the moment is John Hardie, who's got by Kevin Bartlett. That great 3-way tussle, Bartlett, Hardie and Johnson, still continues. But Allan Grice, the man leading the race, look at the traffic he has to pass. He has a Commodore on the left, he has a Mazda on the right, and he's got to get through them up here at McPhillamy Park, which is about the worst possible place you could find to try and make a rapid passage. Peter Brock following behind. Allan Grice is enjoying a golden year, a man who's had so much disappointment. He's been criticised a lot. Grumpy Gricey, they called him. A little bit on the surly side in the past, but when you think of the fortunes he's had, you couldn't blame him. But this year, things are going right. He won the Castrol 400 at Sandown under contentious circumstances, but he won the race. He, of course, in practice, won $5,000 and wrote himself into the Bathurst history books by being the first man in a touring car ever to lap the 6.1 kilometre Mount Panorama circuit at better than 100 miles per hour. He was fastest in pole in the practiced for pole position yesterday, and Hardie's Heroes won another $10,000. He's in front of the race, picking up $25 per lap, the Kmart prize. He wants to stay there. He'd love to win this race.
I can't remember seeing him recently without a grin on his face.
He's so relaxed. He's lost all that sort of grumpiness he used to have because things are going well. He says he's in a team who prepare their car very well. He gets on well with them. Oh, he got sideways into the sand. He went there in the BMW last year and got stuck in deep sand. He has spun. I don't know how that happened. He didn't seem to be going in over fast. Whether he has a tyre problem. Will he go into the pits? Or is he going to... No,
he's lost the race lead though by the length of pit straight because Brock has just taken Hell's Corner and is on his way up Mountain Straight.
Drama for Allan Grice, the race leader at the end. Conrod Straight, slipping, spinning out into the sand trap, the place that took him out last year.
Brock is already 10.2 seconds ahead of Allan Grice thanks to that spin.
Alan Moffat has 4 victories to his credit. There's oil on the bottom of the track. That could have been what put Allan Grice off. I think it might have been. I couldn't explain the spin otherwise. He just touched a patch of oil, I'd say. Our cameraman there has picked up oil on the track. So it's probably that put Grice back because it was an unexplained spin. Unless something was wrong with the car. Obviously it wasn't. Grice knows what's wrong. He's now got to make up those 10 seconds that he lost to Peter Brock. Towards BP Bend, Allan Grice, who's been running second, is coming into the pits.
In the pits, yes, Allan Grice in the ReCar Commodore car number 4. There he is, pulling into the pits. Chris Economaki.
A high rate of fuel consumption has forced him into the pits before the scheduled time, and this could have dire consequences because it could commit the team to 4 stops rather than the planned 3 stops. Here, the team manager is talking with Grice. Here we've got our clock ticking away. Some 22 seconds have already elapsed. The right-hand wheels are being changed and the air jacks are being let down, but the fuel is not yet all in the car. This tremendous pace that's being set today is burning fuel. Grice looks cool. He's having a glass of ginger ale, calm at the wheel. Fuel is all in. The left side is going down. They're changing 4 tires on the stop. The car has been in the pit 47 seconds. It's a long pit stop. Johnson was in for the Bears at 50.86 seconds. 50.86 seconds. Does this mean you're going to have to make 1 extra pit stop before the day is out?
We're not too sure just at the moment. We're just going to see how it goes. We're going to calculate what fuel we used in that session and we'll sort it out from there.
Do you think you're using more than you planned?
Well, you know, we did a test the other day, but it was in the wet, and you always use more fuel in the wet conditions. So basically, we just wanted to stop a little early and just be on the safe side, and we'll work it out as the race goes on.
Okay, they're going to tot up the fuel again. 50 and 86 100 seconds, a long stop for Allan Grice. Back to the box.
Obviously, Allan Grice was sufficiently concerned about his rate of fuel to come into the pits. That could put a different complexion on the race, and that'll be good news for the Nissans and the Mazdas because they reckon they can go longer on fuel and they might win with the smaller, shorter number of pit stops.
Allan Grice is now in 4th position, so the race leader, 05 Peter Brock in the dealer team Commodore. Johnny Harvey in the second dealer team Commodore is 2nd. Warren Cullen in a Commodore car 22 is 3rd. Allan Grice is 4th. And Alan Moffat in the Stuyvesant Mazda is 5th. They are the only 5 cars on the front-running lap. We're back at Mount Panorama after this.
Back at Mount Panorama. And Allan Grice, who was running 4th as you left us for that commercial break, is now fought his way back to 3rd place, having passed Warren Cullen. So Grice back to 3rd as the race continues.
Driving desperately hard there. He wants to get back in the race, lifting the wheel up in that corner. I've seen no car do that before. And look at the way he's leading the car as he comes through. Cullen in 4th place. That's a remarkable effort. Running for his own Settlement Road Salvage Company, 3AW in Melbourne. And up in a great 4th place. Still has to make a pit stop, so he'll lose a bit of time when he does that. But he is well placed, and the way cars are dropping out, who knows? Warren Cullen heads after a dreadful year last year. Might be going to be collecting a bit of money this year. Allan Grice, though, still wants to win. He's made that earlier pit stop. We think that John Harvey is about to come in the 2nd of the Marlborough Holden dealer team cars, probably to see how much fuel he needs so that they can pace Peter Brock more accurately and not call him in too early, because if they can just stretch out Peter Brock's stint in the wheel to the longest possible time, they might get by with the 2 stops that they were talking about as being just on the cards.
There have been a couple of driver changes already. Car 3, the Cadbury Schweppes Commodore, Peter Jansen has handed over to David Parsons in that car, and car 31, which was up running 10th a couple of laps ago, and that's the BMW driven by Jim Richards, has been in, and David Hobbs is now at the wheel.
David Hobbs, the British driver, Born in England of Australian parents, he has family still in South Australia who'll be following his progress very closely, but now lives in America, so he's a really tangled international. And the message from the pits is that Peter Brock has been signalled to come into the pits, so we'll keep our eye on the pit action. Chris Economaki is there waiting. Allan Grice will receive that message with a great deal of interest too. He's on two-way radio, as all the top crews are, and they'll pass the message across, not only from their own runners, but they watch the telecast themselves.
Oh, avoiding action there on the part of Allan Grice, going around the top of the circuit. In second place on the track at the present time, 37.3 seconds astern of the dealer team Commodore Car 5, at the moment being driven by Larry Perkins. The Settlement Road Auto Salvage car is in the pits with Warren Cullen. He's slipped from about third spot down to 14th at this stage, and we'll be back to check out the rest of the action at Mount Panorama after this break.
Where Alan Brown comes into, or Grice comes in for Brown to take over. It has been suggested that Alan Brown, of course, isn't as quick as Alan Grice, and perhaps they may pay the penalty of that later in the race. But then again, Alan Brown owns the cars.
Well, Alan is quick. I've talked to Alan Grice. He said that he thinks Alan Brown has a trouble on circuits that go to the right, like Amaru. He just has difficulty going that way as quickly as to the left. This is a left-hand circuit, and Alan Brown might find it much more to his liking.
There's Steve Masterton in the Masterton Homes 2WS entry.
And he's passing car 4 now. Is Alan Grice going into the pits?
Yes, it would look that way. Hold that. Check out Alan Grice.
This could be the critical stop then, as Alan Grice actually hands over. We see Masterton go by the pits, and Grice is moving into the pits for what could be the most critical stop of the race.
Alan Brown should take over.
Now, an enormous load on the shoulders of Alan Brown. I think he's feeling a bit nervous about it, the man who went racing for fun and suddenly found himself in a winning team. He's helmeted up, ready to go. Alan Grice will give him instructions, tell him what the car's like, what the track is like, try and calm him down, because Alan Grice gets on very well with Alan Brown, and we'll try and relax him. He knows the pressure facing a new driver, particularly when he knows he has to try and get out there and catch, first of all, Larry Perkins, then Peter Brock. And there aren't many men on this track who could even face that challenge with any hope of making up ground on such drivers. Helping him with the seatbelts, adjusting him, talking to him all the time, calming him down. Alan Brown might own the team, might own the car, but he's the junior member of the partnership in terms of driving ability. He knows that. He respects what Alan Grice will tell him. Grice is chatting to him all the time.
Quick pit stop if they could just get Alan Brown buckled up. Here now, the engine is fired. Brown's ready. Grice is relieved. And the ReCar Commodore goes back into the race. Car number 4.
That pit stop was so quick, Mark. The ReCar Commodore is still in second place on the track now with Alan Brown at the wheel.
A lot of pressure now on Alan Brown to keep the lap times up.
Tyres really must have been going off badly, you know, there, because Gricey lost 10 seconds in the last 7 laps on the race leader, the dealer team Commodore, and I guess that Chris Economaki, that's one of the questions you'll be asking Alan Grice, if you can get a word with him about the tyre situation. Here's Chris Economaki.
Standing by with Grice. Okay, right here with Alan Grice. Alan, can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear, mate.
Okay, it's been a long stint for you. What kind of shape are you in?
I'm okay.
How about the car?
It's all good, except the brakes are. We're running out of pedal. You've got to pump the pedal up all the time, and it doesn't always pump up. So you're never quite certain when you arrive at a corner whether you've got a full pedal or half a pedal or not much pedal. So it's something that Brownie will have to wrestle with and get used to. It took me a while to get used to it.
What's it doing to your lap time?
Well, the problem is it makes it a little inconsistent, because if you suddenly go for the pedal and you haven't got very much pedal, you haven't got very much brake there, you virtually have to throw that corner away and try and just play it safe, and then get back on the pace. So, you know, it does upset you from time to time. I hope Brownie can cope with it okay.
Alan, what is the level of driving around the course on the part of the rest of the field?
Well, I've found it pretty good, to be quite honest. I don't know about the other blokes, what sort of runs they've had, but except for the odd occasion, I found my passengers through being pretty good.
What about the racing surface? Dirt, oil, pebbles?
Yeah, it's certainly deteriorated in that respect, but then there's a lot of people using a lot of lot of rubber up and cutting corners a little, I guess.
Yeah, humming the bits.
And, you know, the surface is quite slippery, quite treacherous. Probably why so many cars have stuck it in today.
Did you have any frights, any close calls during your stint?
Yeah, I had one sort of spin at the end of the straight there when I spun out of the lead, and that was the first real problem I had with the brakes. I just suddenly went to the pedal and only had about half a pedal there.
Well, okay, get a good rest and hang in there. Allan Grice doing long duty here in the James Hardie 1000. Back to the box.
There's Allan Brown, hands full coming out of the turn, heading down Conrod Straight again.
And Larry Perkins in the dealer team Commodore, car 5, which is co-driving with Peter Brock, has just passed the halfway mark in the 1982 James Hardie 1000, and we'll be back after this break for more of the great race.
Allan Brown now back in third place. The car that led the race from the early stages. There's a car stranded out here, obviously. There's a rescue truck going to pick someone up from up the top of the circuit. But Allan Brown now back in third position. Allan Grice, who drove the first two stints, has gone too far to get back in the car, although they might be doing some hasty calculations to see just how much time Allan Grice is allowed to drive. The regulations do insist that a driver is only allowed to go for a maximum amount of time, and I suspect that Allan Grice went very close to that in those first two long stints, and that Allan Brown will probably have to stick with it for the rest of the run.
You can still hear plenty of cheering from the spectators on top of the mountain. The popular pick, Peter Brock.
Always picked up a break there. You saw the puff of smoke. The wheel lifted, of course, going through the dip, and then when he braked, it locked. The smoke was just from a tyre burning. It can cause a flat spot. That's the car on the side of the road that the truck may be going to get. Looks like a Falcon that's parked on the left there. May have been John English car, although I think he retired earlier, the same colour. A red Falcon. Down Conrod Straight. A new bridge across the circuit, the John Player Special Bridge, designed to allow spectator access to new stands that are to be built on the far side of Conrod Straight. Just the bridge so far, access next year. A number of improvements have been carried out to the circuit.
Right, stand by.
Grice getting back in for his final stint from here to the end of the race, and boy, that's still a long way away. 52 laps to go in this race. Allan Brown steps out, weak at the knees, because he's had a real fight out there. Allan Grice in the car, fuel in the car. Fresh rubber on the road, working frantically. And Pat Kenraku getting in there to get the pictures.
You can't take the wheels inside the car with you.
Gricey getting strapped in. Assistance from the pit crew. Hook up the two-way. The arm is in the air. Clear. Go.
Okay, Allan Grice now rejoins the James Hardie 1000. We'll take a break, come back and talk with Allan Brown.
He's in third place. Can he regain second or even win the race from here?
You know, I don't even know where we are. Where are we now? Third. Well, he's pretty quick. I don't know how far behind he is. I didn't help things, but that's as fast as I could go without hanging on an arm case somewhere and then saying, well, I shouldn't have done that.
It was an enormous burden on you to go out there.
Well, yeah, I guess so, but we done it for fun. You know, if I wanted to get another driver in, I guess I could have quite easily done that all today, as a matter of fact.
Well, you came into racing late. You did it because you enjoy it,
yeah,
and
right.
you suddenly find yourself up with the Tigers.
Well, that's right, yeah. This could be the last time I drive, and I just wanted to get in that car and have maybe that last one. And the week's been so good to us, I just wanted to be part of it.
Now, how long can Allan drive? He must be very close to his maximum allowable time.
I'm sure the boys have worked it out. They called me in, so I guess they've worked it right out to the limit, and I'd say that they'd be right on the limit. He'll be in the car the rest of the time, and I don't think he'll have to come in. They've worked it right out to the last gallon. as far as I know.
So Allan will be staying out there and trying to get back second and maybe even Perth, which he had in those early laps of the race.
Yes, exactly, yes.
Allan Browne, back to you in the tower.
Thank you, Evan Green. Allan Browne, who certainly doesn't overestimate his ability.
Very refreshing, actually, isn't it?
Yes, quite delightful. But he's in it for fun. The idea of getting involved in motor racing was, as he said, for fun. Then all of a sudden, he wound up being in a team of winners.
Thank you very much, Chris Economaki. On the track, 0.5, Peter Brock, still the race leader, a lap and a half clear of teammate Johnny Hardie in car 25. It's a further 1 minute 25 seconds. Car 2 is in the pits, Masterton's car. They've got up to 8th place, you know, with Bruce Stewart at the wheel now, and about to hand back to Steve Masterton for the concluding stages of the race. Refuel, tyres, and a driver change there. There's Gricey going through in 3rd place. 2 laps down on the race leader, Peter Brock, at the present time. And Gricey is 21 seconds clear of Alan Moffat, car 43, the Stuyvesant Mazda, in 4th place.
He's trying very hard indeed. Alan Grice. There's Gricey, now back on the wheel. Sitting right behind him, though, is Captain Peter Jansen.
The car running second in the 3-litre class, the Capri, car 50, Barry Seaton, is in the pits for a driver change. Fuel, tyres. Ran out of fuel, in fact, and had to be pushed up pit lane. Barreling down Conrod Straight. Alan Grice, he's got some distance to make up if he's to recapture the head of this race from the dealer team. Peter Brock in 0.5, Johnny Hardie in 25. The 3-litre class in this race currently being led by car 56, the Nissan Bluebird. Masahiro Hasimi, his co-driver, Hoshino. 2nd place, the car that's currently in the pits with a driver change, car 50, Barry Seaton. 3rd place, car 54, Cant and Gross in a Capri. Then the escort of Holden and Bridges. Scott and Walton in a Celica. Hire, Lander in an Audi. Gulson, Linton in the Alpha. Scaife and Bailey in a Capri. Land and Bailey are out of business. And Fanico and Goff in a Gemini.
Now thanks again to Texas Instruments who join us for their first James Hardie 1000 Classic and providing a very unique scoring service here today. There's Alan Grice. Since taking over the car, we'll give you some time shortly on whether Grice is making any leeway on John Harvey, who is presently placed in 2nd.
Minute 25 is the gap at the present time between Harvey and Grice. We'll keep an eye on that and see if it falls. I noticed Terry Shield in the Eurocar's Mazda RX-7, who was expected to be one of the top running Mazdas in the race, is in the pits again.
Gee, he's driven well this week, Alan Grice. Really has impressed me. He's found some new confidence since linking with the ReCar team. Infinitely better driving we've seen throughout the season, not only at Amaru Park, but also at Sandown, and here certainly in the James Hardie 1000 this year. Slower car waves to the outside. Grice takes the initiative straight down. That was the 35 Mazda RX-7.
Phil Alexander and Ron Gillard waving goodbye as Alan Grice whizzes by in pursuit of the 2 cars ahead of him in this great race.
The Commodore, despite a problem that Grice mentioned early in the day, is having a problem with the brakes, had to keep the brakes pumped all the time, and then eventually when he thought they were pumped up, he'd go for a jab, and sometimes he wouldn't have enough pedal there. He'll be able to overcome those problems. Alan Browne mightn't have been doing the same lap times as Alan Grice, but when he handed the car over, it was still running good, and they were still in a competitive position on the track. Section there of the enormous crowd, probably the biggest crowd that we've seen here for a James Hardie Classic. No crowd figures to hand as yet. But as I said earlier in today's telecast, Sandown Park was claiming 60,000 people for the recent Castrol 400. I wouldn't like to hazard a guess at what the crowd is here today, but it's certainly at least double that. I'm not saying there's 120,000 people here either. Getting up to GTX Bend, Alan Grice, the ReCar Commodore number 4.
like they're preparing for another pit stop over in the Marlborough dealer team area. I don't know what, and it looks like it's going to be another driver change. I don't know. Obviously, they may have to put Larry Perkins back in 05 just to ensure that Peter Brock doesn't overdrive the limit in this race. I thought they'd have calculated that fairly carefully. I didn't imagine that they'd change drivers twice. The view from the 7 chopper. Terry Lee and cameraman Doug Hampson.
Coming up behind the Citizen entry. Nowhere to pass there. You'll see the courteous driver move across for Allan Grice,
yes,
which he does.
Greg Topfer and co-driver Ken Matthews in that car. They've had a lot of trouble with it. They've spent an awful lot of time in and out of the pits today. Bad luck for them.
Grice gets another gear down, and Conrod straight. No traffic on there, so he's got it wide open all the way down.
Well, they're a lap and a half up, Mike, and I guess the car's running that well that they can afford to feel reasonably confident at this stage.
Well, the suggestion has been that the Mazdas, of course, can run one pit stop less, or the Alan Moffat Mazda unit, certainly. And to be in the pits for a minute or so, or just over a minute, and have something foul up on a driver change, is certainly going to open the field up again.
There he is. Of course, he's still over a lap, nearly 2 laps, in fact, behind the race leader, Peter Brock. But he's now split the dealer team pair, has overtaken Johnny Hardie. Hardie about 4 seconds behind him. Here they come, Grice. Makes the left-hander, and Conrod straight opens up before him.
He's not only passed him, he's run away from John Harvey.
Well, Harvey about to come into view at the bottom of the screen, and you'll see what the gap is, maybe.
Well, that will certainly indicate just how much Allan Grice is on the move. Wait for Harvey.
Where is he? There he is. Well, gee, I mean, that's incredible.
No, I don't think that was Harvey.
Well, I don't know where Harvey's gone to then, because if that's not Harvey, Grice has opened up an enormous break on him in the space of a lap.
If that has happened, Harvey has problems.
Well, Grice has just passed our commentary position here along pit straight. Now, yes, here comes Harvey. We're checking the gap for you. And it is 7 seconds, 8 seconds.
Well, he's opened up 8 seconds from the top of the mountain to the bottom of the mountain, and that would suggest that either Grice has called in during his last pit stop and fitted a turbocharger, or John Harvey has got problems and is dropping back.
The gap between Brock and Grice was 4 minutes, and I think we'll check that next time round, because if he's going that quickly, that gap could start to tumble as well. Out there trying hard, because the race now is getting into the decision stages. 132 laps gone out of 163.
There's Allan Grice on the ReCar Commodore.
That's the view from the 7 chopper.
What a magnificent race Grice has driven here today. Led the race, hit an oil spot at the end of Conrod Straight, slid off backwards into the sand, had to recover, dropped away to Peter Brock, handed over to his co-driver Alan Brown. Brock at that stage with a very, very good co-driver in Larry Perkins. They were able then to stretch the gap.
30 laps to go, Mark.
Allan Grice has come back to 2nd place.
So we've got about, what, an hour, 20 minutes remaining in the great race for 1982, and a lot can happen between now and then. You saw how dramatically things changed with the position regarding Harvey and Grice on the track just in the last 2 laps. Under the John Player Bridge.
Grice coming up on the Clive Benson Brown car. Charlie O'Brien at the wheel at the moment. See the speed difference as they head up Pit Straight, or up Mountain Straight I should say. Charlie O'Brien pulls to the left-hand side in the Commodore. Grice will catch him almost on the brink here and race him down, heading up to the right-hander at Castrol. No, he can't.
Grice has made up about 3 seconds on race leader Peter Brock in the last lap and a half, but Brock, of course, is still the best part of 4 minutes ahead, a lap and 3/4 ahead on the track.
Great showing here today for the Commodores. You might check out the situation and take your race cam inside Peter Brock's car, and here he is coming along Pit Straight.
Team manager Les Small reckons he can catch Peter Brock. What's the situation? How far back is he?
We're about 65 seconds behind at the moment, Evan. We're catching him in around 2 to 3 seconds a lap, but we've got a bit of a problem with our fuel load. We're starting to run a bit light. We might require a half a churn with 5 laps to go or so, but at the moment we are catching him, and whether Brock's foxing or not, you just don't know, but we're catching him.
So the instructions of Allan Grice are to try and win the race at this stage.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All the way. You know, we're running high 22s at the moment, which isn't bad for this time of the day, so he's given it everything it's got.
It all depends on fuel.
That's right.
A pretty difficult calculation for the team manager to have to come up with.
Yeah, well, we, you know, I think we're going to be about 5 laps short, Evan, but we'll just see.
20 laps to go in the great race for 1982. Grice has made up 25 seconds on Brock. 3 minutes 36 seconds ahead of Allan Grice in the ReCar Commodore. A further 36 seconds then to car 25 with Johnny Hardie in the second dealer team car. And 3 laps down then to, from the race leader that is, to Dick Johnson in the Palmer Prudential Falcon. It's still V8s 1 to 5, followed by the BMW car 31 in 6th place. Steve Masterton Holmes Falcon has moved up into 7th spot in the outright standings.
We have our timer going on Allan Grice. We've been timing Peter Brock for those of you who entered the Clock Brock competition for a new Commodore SS. And to give you a comparison, we have picked up Allan Grice under the Hardie Bridge, and we'll follow him around and give you a time as he completes 1 lap.
He's been circulating the last 8 or 10 laps around the 2:22 mark, a shade under, shade over, not much variation.
He's got a BMW chasing him up the hill, which would be, of course, Jim Richards. Keep in mind that Grice drove this race last year for the BMW team. And I think any time where he can put one up on the board against the John Player BMWs, it seems to tickle his fancy just a little bit.
Steve Masterton on the road immediately in front of Allan Grice. Oops! Oh, moved over a long way.
Steve had to make his own arrangements then. Didn't do anything to help the confidence of Jim Richards, who was thinking about following Grice through the dipper. 26.02 to the top of the mountain.
Got 19 laps to go. 19. Okay.
Well, you heard it, 19 laps to go.
Terrific economy, right? Good economy? Right. Okay.
You can hear some of the pit dialogue going back to the driver. Just couldn't pick whether, in fact, that was the Peter Brock car or Dick Johnson.
Well, whoever it was is getting great economy.
Tremendous.
Braking into Murray's corner. The clock ticking over at 2:17:18. Grice comes under the Hardie's Bridge.
Oh, very sideways that time.
Yeah, and that's what cost him time there. 2:24:09 on that lap. Not as consistent as he has been. remarkable young man,
Yes,
Steve Masterton, and they have had a lot of handling troubles with that car, and I asked him this morning how it was going, and he said, mate, we'll be in there, he said, but it's a fair mongrel.
Nice to see him giving such a good rap to the product. I think Peter Jansen was heading into the pits. I just caught sight of that. There's a section of the huge crowd still here. No one's moved. They want to be a part of history when Brock puts one more notch on the belt, the James Hardie 1000.
Allan Grice, meantime, continued to close the gap on the race leader, Peter Brock, at the rate of about 2 seconds a lap. But it's still a commanding lead that he had to make up.
However, Brock still leads. Second place now held by Grice, who managed to pass Hardie from behind. Still with quite a few laps to go in the James Hardie for 1982. We come back live to our race leader Peter Brock over the top of the mountain.
Grice has now made up more than 30 seconds in the last 15 laps, Mike.
I think distance may beat him, and I think he also will probably come in, as his crew chief indicated, for a quick top-up with about 5 laps to go, straight in a churn or so.
We don't have to make another stop, so we've all got our fingers crossed and we're looking good.
Yeah, well, let's watch this stop, Larry. It's an important one. He's moving. They haven't refueled the car properly. Grice is underway. The churn is still in it. That is 1 minute penalty. One churn of fuel goes in. I thought, in fact, there may be some penalty. They're not supposed to be moving in the pits.
So Peter Brock has gone on to win the 1982 James Hardie 1000 Classic. Second place will go to Sydney Commodore driver Allan Grice in the ReCar entry.
Well, 1982 may be remembered as the year in which Peter Brock won his 6th James Hardie 1000 and Larry Perkins finally made it to his first. But it'll also be remembered as the year of the 100-mile-per-hour lap and the tremendous performance by that great pair who came second, Allan Grice and Allan Brown. Well, Allan, you were beaten, but my goodness me, you've made thousands and thousands of new fans.
Yeah, it was one of those runs, but I'd just simply like to thank Allan Brown very shortly and very concisely for giving me the motor car to show that I can still drive one. Thanks very much, Allan, and to Les and the boys that built it.
When I was talking to you in the pits, Allan Brown, after you'd handed out from your stint, you thought it might be your last drive. Come up here. Now that you come second, what do you think?
Oh no, I think I might give it away. It's sort of getting a little old for it, but...
you were a little old when you started.
Oh, exactly, that's right, yeah. But I really had a ball, and, you know, there was a lot of pressure today. I could have slotted a lot of drivers in the car and made it a lot easier for Allan, but... and I think if he'd have had a co-driver who would have been right up there, just like Peter had, you know, he would have given Brocky a bit of a run for his money, but anyway, it's my car, my money, and I wanted to drive it and be here, and I'm here.